Hello everyone, happy Friday. For those of you that it matters for, I mean, other people like, just another day, and some people like, yeah, Friday. Anyway, oh man, yeah, on Fridays I try to do something a little different as far as the topics and things I talk about, and this is going to be no different from that. But I have to caution you. I'm going to caution you from the onset and say that if you're easily offended, if you are overly emotional or just very emotional, if you, I'll just leave it at that. If you're one of those two things, then you probably don't want to listen to this. All right, I'll just tell you right off the bat. Okay, you probably don't want to listen to this because I probably more than likely will offend people, even though I don't necessarily really mean to. I probably will, because I was talking to my wife yesterday. Actually, we had a good day. Had the day off, and she's taking some time off, and we had a good day hiking and stuff, and getting up into the pinnacle of an area and looking down on the trees and seeing the colors change and so forth, and you know, just a beautiful, beautiful day, just gorgeous day. And so yeah, we had a good day, and well, we were conversing about a lot of different things, and one of the things we were talking about is how easy it is for people to be offended nowadays, you know, specifically the millennial Gen Z, you know, people, but just about anybody, I guess. People just get very, very easily offended, and sometimes it costs them. It costs them a lot. Their offense can cost them, you know, their jobs, because if they report something that they shouldn't, you know, or let's just say like this, not necessarily report something they shouldn't, but they always go to TikTok or YouTube or some type of social media outlet to let people know exactly how they're feeling about this or that, and you know, how they've been treated. And I mean, people are like experts at burning bridges nowadays. I've noticed that they're really, really very good at burning bridges. So they have pretty much no future because they advertise their whole life on social media, not realizing that everything is cyber and in the cloud and all the rest of this stuff. And companies or anybody that want to research anybody or anything, I mean, they can just go into people's background, go onto their social media sites, their Facebook Devil Book page or whatever else, and find out anything. And then if people are looking for allies or whatever, and you know, they try to do the right thing, but because of a lack of life experience, maybe age or what have you, they wind up doing the wrong thing, and then they pay for it. And not necessarily fair, but that's where wisdom comes in. And a lot of people, they just lack it. They just lack wisdom. They lack any kind of discernment. I mean, some people might even call it common sense to a certain extent. But anyway, we were just talking about some things, and you know, that I had seen in videos I was sharing with her, and you know, how people are whining and complaining about this and that, and you know, woe is me, and I'm being treated unfairly. This is where I get offensive, you know, and you know, and I'm just thinking to myself, man, there was a day, there was a time. I know I'm a dinosaur, you know, but that just didn't fly. You know, people, you know, they just moved on. They just carried on. They just, you know, I don't want to say pick themselves up, but a lot of people did, you know. I mean, because they're not relying on the Lord for anything. They try to pick themselves up. Some people are successful in that, and some people fall flat, you know, and fall even harder. But regardless, you know, I was thinking about some conversation I had with some people lately, and some things that I've observed, you know, just listening to people talk and just watching. And also, I had a weird dream last night, too, kind of pertaining to that. Probably nothing prophetic or anything like that. I barely ever remember my dreams if I do dream. But it was interesting because probably from my subconscious, from the things that I have been talking to people about or seeing or watching or what have you. And it hit me that this conversation I had with a friend a few days ago, that's a veteran,
And when I have conversations with veterans, I talk to veterans differently than I talk to other people, and they talk to me probably a little differently too, because you have that something in common there, and that mindset, and you kind of put your military thinking cap on, kind of thing, and you use those military analogies and so forth. And when we were talking, there was a particular individual that had said something to me, and I just remember talking to my veteran friend and saying, you know what? I said, this is the kind of person I wouldn't want to be in a foxhole with. So my suggestion, going back to the beginning here, the caution and the suggestion that I have is start thinking about, this is my suggestion, who do you want to be in a foxhole with? It could be, foxholes are regularly pretty small. I'm sure people know about them, have heard of them before. Maybe even if you're in the military, you've been in the military, or you've seen enough movies or whatever, you've probably seen them. Maybe even dug them yourself. I know I have. And a foxhole is like a pretty good size square hole, basically about 6 feet deep. The width, the length can vary depending upon how long you're going to be there, I guess, and how much you want to put into it. But basically, it's there for kind of living quarters where you can, like, if it starts to rain or whatever, you can put a poncho over the top, and you can be protected from the elements and what have you, or if there's a sandstorm, a dust storm or whatever, like when I was in the desert and had to dig foxholes and whatnot. But they're about 6 feet deep. And like I said, length and width can kind of vary. But you can put a few people in there because the whole purpose is, you can fight from there, you can shoot from there, kind of thing, and hopefully you can get out fairly quickly, you build steps inside there, and you can really, be very creative. You got to get out quickly, but you also jump in without hurting yourself, hopefully, and you can take cover if need be. But like I said, you can be offensive and defensive from a foxhole. But a lot of times you're waiting in the foxhole. So it is absolutely miserable if you have to be in a foxhole with a person or people that you cannot stand. And when I was talking to my friend, we're joking about this, and I said, man, I would throw this guy right out of the foxhole if they were in there with me. He goes, I'd help you. Because we both understand the concept of a foxhole and how miserable it is to get stuck with someone that you have to tolerate for Lord knows how long. So you want to make sure as much as you can that you're in a foxhole with someone that has your back and they have your back. So you don't want a hypocrite, you don't want a coward, you don't want a liar, you don't want somebody that's, untrustworthy, somebody that'll never shut up, some chowderhead, because you might have to actually be quiet and stealth and keep your mouth shut, whisper kind of thing, have some self-control, some self-discipline. So you don't want anybody that doesn't have any self-control or self-discipline. There's a lot of variables here of people that you'd want to be in a foxhole with. Now, the analogy is the foxhole, but what I'm really talking about is who do you want in your inner circle kind of thing. Who can you trust? Who are the people that you don't mind being around and they don't mind being around you? So you don't kill each other or throw the person out to the enemy. It sounds mean and kind of joking, but at the same time, it's just like, you don't want some fool giving away your position, because they can't maintain any kind of military discipline, operational security. They don't understand or care about how serious this situation is. So as I'm talking about this, I started thinking about, because I started thinking about the foxholes that I dug, and mostly they were for myself. everybody, the Marines would all dig foxholes for themselves, some closer together, some further apart. Some people would want to share, some people wouldn't. Well, I was the corpsman. I didn't share with anybody. Okay. So I built my own foxhole, and we were there for quite a while. Now, if you're going to be someplace for a short period of time, you might want to dig what's called a hasty defense, where it's something you can just kind of get real low to the ground, and you can move from quickly if you need to, and then jump back into. It's about 2 feet deep, about the length of your body kind of thing, and you can lay prone, and take cover from like small artillery fire from there. But a foxhole, like I said, is much deeper, about 6 feet deep, which I always found kind of interesting. 6 feet. That sounds interesting. Isn't that how deep they bury people? And then years later, after leaving the desert, from 1991, Creed put out that song. I can't remember the name of the song. My wife and I were actually talking about it yesterday. I cannot remember the name of the song. I'd have to look it up. But I remember the lyric, and it's just like, hold me now, I'm 6 feet from the edge, and I'm thinking, maybe 6 feet ain't so far down. So referring to death, basically, referring to, if you're not careful, you got to be, that your foxhole, could wind up being your grave kind of thing. So I always thought it was very interesting that you're 6 feet deep. So, but I just started thinking about that concept, because I remember Ben Fairclough saying that a while back in many of his sermons, it is just like, we're going to find out. We're going to find out who's got what it takes. We're going to find out, who do you want in the foxhole with you? Do I want this person in the foxhole with me, or these people when it really hits the fan? When it really gets deep, like I think it will next November, or excuse me, next, we wish, in November, in Neverember, like a few short days from now, beginning, a week from now, or whatever the case may be. I'm not the only one saying that. Tons of people are saying that. I'm not prophesying anything. It's just what I believe in my heart. By Thanksgiving time, it's going to be horrible. I truly believe that. What was it? Jesus is the Only Way. Green-Eyed Okie shared a short clip earlier today. Where Walmart, apparently Martlaw, has this plan that because EBT and SNAP, won't work soon, after November 1st, I guess, or whatever, people are planning to go in and just shoplift and steal and loot and whatever else, and and they said, well, Walmart has the plan, or Martlaw has the plan. They're just going to lock the doors, open them for their employees to get in, and then lock them from everybody else. And I was like, well, what's the point? If you're not going to have shoppers go in at all, then what's the point of even having employees? That's the first part I'm thinking of. So you let your employees in, I guess, to stock shelves or work in the back or whatever. But if you're not going to open, who do you decide to open the doors to and not open the doors to? And I'm thinking to myself of all the different movies and television and shows I've seen through the years where they have scenes in there where talking about curfews and martial Matt Dillon law and all the rest of this stuff. I'm starting, what happens is people, when they loot and they riot and they lose their minds because they can't get what they want, and and their EBT or SNAP doesn't work, and they don't have any money, their cash or whatever, their debit cards are maxed out, or credit cards are maxed out, and their debit cards don't have any, there's no money in the bank, or whatever the case may be. The one thing that all of these movies and television shows always have in common is people bust through the doors. It's glass. Okay? They break through the doors. Think of Black Friday shoppers throughout I don't know how many years. All the videos that people see, after the fact, of the Black Friday shoppers. They can't even wait till 4 a.m. to get the doors open. And since everybody has to have that whatever stupid item it is that they can't live without, the employees can barely open the doors, and people are trying to bust through and break through, climbing underneath or whatever. It's insanity. And that's just regular Black Friday idiots, after Thanksgiving. Well, what do you think it's going to be like before that time? They cut off everything, that people are used to having. Probably November 1st, like I said, that sounds like the target date, but whatever after that. What do you think it's going to be like? So stores can have all the security they want. They can block things off. They can, lock the doors. You have mass crowds of people. especially stores like Walmart and Target, or, grocery stores, main grocery stores. People are going to bust through the glass if they try to lock these things up. They're going to break the glass. They're going to bust in. They're going to take and steal whatever they want to take and steal. I don't think people realize just how serious this is about to get. So that's why I am suggesting to people now, start thinking about who you want in your foxhole or in your inner circle. And if you don't want certain people there, but they're in your life now or whatever, get rid of them. That's my suggestion. I know that's harsh, that's mean, that's offensive. I'm telling you to save your own sanity and to be prepared for what's about to happen. If there's any doubt in your mind that you can't trust certain people, that they're a hypocrite, a coward, untrustworthy, undisciplined, no self-control, you have any inkling in your mind from any type of wisdom or discernment that you have, that just like, I don't want this person in my life. I can't trust them. Now is the time. Get rid of them now. Because you don't want to be in a position, in a situation where you get stuck with them and you're thinking and you're regretting, like, oh man, I can't believe this. Why did this happen? Oh, I should have got rid of you a long time ago. I know it sounds so mean. I'm such a mean person. But I'm telling you, for your own sanity, okay? And people say, well, you need to be forgiving, and you need to be this, and you need to be that. Listen to me. Please listen to me, okay? I've been there, done that, seen it, got the t-shirt and the hats to prove it, okay? All right? Certain people, a leopard does not change its spots, okay? A tiger does not change its stripes. Certain people you can't trust. You can still, give them chance after chance after chance if you want to. I think that time has passed now. Personally, I think that time has come and gone now. But other people, they'll be like, hey, I still trust them. I still believe them. They're this, they're that. They're family members, or they're this, or they're that, or whatever. And it's just like, if you couldn't trust them before, what makes you think you can trust them now? Trust is very, very important. And when people betray another person's trust, yeah, you forgive, but you're not going to forget it, because we have a brain, we have a mind, we have a memory, so you don't forget it. And if you allow this person into your life, or keep this person in your life, and they screw you over again, well, whose fault is that? Like I said, the leopard doesn't change his spots. The tiger does not change his stripes. I know people say, oh, you're being judgmental, and you're being mean, and you're being this. I'd rather be judgmental and mean, than be in a situation, I understand we're not in the military, and, this isn't a unit, and this isn't special forces, and all. I get all of that, okay? But the analogy stands, okay? That, the idea is you only want somebody with you in the foxhole that you can trust. If you can't trust them, you don't want them in that foxhole with you. You want to be able to have people in that foxhole that you can count as friends, someone that you can believe, someone that you can trust with their life, and they trust you with theirs. That's what you want. Anything less than that, and you're looking at failure. And it's going to be very, very difficult in the times ahead to have people in your life because you're a nice guy or a nice girl or whatever the case may be, and you keep them in your life and you can't trust them. And just like a snake, they bite you at any chance they have. And if that happens, whose fault is that? So think about it, pray about it, do what you got to do, but regarding this, trust is very important. I'm calling this foxhole because that's what I want people to think about. I mean, I've got more to say on this, but I'm not going to right now. It's going to drag on too long. But check out the clip from the show Special Forces. if you have a Fox or whatever, or they stream it afterwards on Hulu, but you can go on YouTube or whatever. There's a show called Special Forces. Very, very interesting. And if you can find a clip from season 4, episode 5, I think, the title of that particular episode is Trust. And it's very interesting because it starts out with someone that, that none of the recruits think that they can trust, and they want to throw this poor woman completely under the bus. Turns out, toward the end of the episode, she is the most trustworthy of anybody. All right? Where she tries to warn people, for lack of a better term, not to do a certain thing, but all these other fools do it, and she winds up being the one that does not take the bait, and she is the most trustworthy of anybody. So at the beginning, nobody has any faith in this woman. At the end, they all find out that she is the most trustworthy. Trust is very, very important. So do not betray people's trust. Don't let them betray your trust. And I said, I understand, we need to forgive. I get all of that. I understand 70 times 7. What I am saying, though, is in the times that we're living in, and the things that are about to happen in November and beyond, you got to be very, very careful who you have in your inner circle and who you let in that foxhole. That if you dug it yourself even, because people won't even care about that. They won't care about the effort that you put in, the time you put in, the intestinal fortitude. They won't care about the sacrifices you made. No, some people, they're just, they're leeches, man. They're leeches. They're snakes and they're leeches. And they're just going to take whatever they can take. And I hate to say it, but a lot of them are professing Christians. They love Jesus. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. My son dealt with someone like that the other day. He was telling about, oh, yeah, they love Jesus, but they're so attached to all their material possessions that they can't get rid of any of them. But they love Jesus. Yeah, sure. Can't take any of it with you, but try telling a rich person that. Yeah. So just be careful on who you let in your inner circle and who you let come into that foxhole with you when the chips are down and when the bullets are flying overhead and it gets real crazy and chaotic. Anyway, I got to go. Y'all have a good one. Take care. Bye-bye.